Why do we make food, but we do the dishes? You do the dishes because that is maintenance. But when you make dinner, that is an act of creation. You are bringing something new into existence that wasn't there before. It's a seemingly small difference in language, but it makes a big difference essentially. And yes, I use that verb to make on purpose again, because you can't do a difference, you have to make one. Because making is something much more than simply doing. Making is kind of magical. That's why we make magic. We make art, we make music, we make a person smile. That is all making, which has very little to do with doing. The problem is, however, that we live in a culture that is obsessed with doing. We want to be seen to be busy, we want to be the person who is tightening the bolts and checking the boxes. But in all that frantic activity, in all that doing, I think we have forgotten the magic of making. And this video is precisely about making this distinction and hopefully make you think about the importance of making something and not simply doing. Many of us have jobs where we are required to simply do things, and doing so much without making anything is daunting. It feels empty. The jobs where we are doing things for the sake of doing them without making any difference whatsoever has even a technical name. It's called bullshit jobs, as popularized by the anthropologist David Graeber in his book with the same name. The bullshit part mainly comes from doing a lot of things but eventually making no difference, have no impact from all of our doings. And to see the difference between making and doing, you only have to look at a construction site. On the one hand, you have the builders. They are moving, lifting, sweating. They are the definition of activity. They are doing the work. But then you have the architect. The architect isn't doing anything, but making everything. The architect makes the house without doing anything at all. If we look at the word itself, the Archi-tecton from the Greek means the chief or primary maker. The builders do the work, but the architect makes the house. And that's not just wordplay. The ancient Greeks actually had two completely separate words for these types of activities. On one side they had praxis, this is action, doing. But on the other side they had poesis, this is making. Poesis is an action where the goal is a final result, something that exists separate from you when you're finished. A ship, a poem, a law, a building. The trap we fall is that society values praxis because it looks like work. It involves movement, it involves sweat, it fills up an 8-hour day. But poesis, the actual making, is often invisible. It looks like standing still, it looks like thinking. And because it's harder to see, we assume it's less valuable. We are addicted to doing because it's simple, it is easy to quantify, it has an economic value that can be measured by the hour. I can see you doing the work, I can pay you for the activity. And there's no better image of this trap than Charlie Chaplin in the film Modern Times. Chaplin is the ultimate doer. He's tightening bolts, he's frantically busy, he's pure praxis without a drop of poesis. He's a man who does everything but makes nothing. He's simply a cog in the machine, a man without art. And the uncomfortable reality check is that most of our modern jobs today look a lot like this. We answer emails, we move data from one spreadsheet to another, we attend meetings, we're incredibly busy, but are we actually making anything? Because if doing is mechanical, making is, again, magical. When Moses made the sea split with the power of his staff, he was making magic. Moses didn't do the parting of the Red Sea. He didn't jump in with a bucket and start bailing water out by hand. That would be praxis, and he would have been at it for 1,000 years. Instead, he stood on the shore, raised his staff, and made it happen. The staff was the conduit of his authority. And here's where the language reveals something fascinating, as it usually does. Think about how we use that word today, staff. We call the workforce that supports an organization the staff. It is the exact same word for two very different things, but the idea, the concept is the same. Today we literally split waters. We build the Hoover Dam, we divert rivers, we carve the Suez Canal, but the architect or the CEO doesn't move the rocks themselves. They use their staff, and you make this magic happening by organizing ourselves. The staff is the magic stick, without being an actual stick, of course, just being a metaphor. But in a world that focuses so much on doing and not so much on making, there's a big risk that what really makes magic, art, and the humanities are being overlooked. We constantly hear that the humanities, poetry, philosophy, literature are useless. Parents ask their children, what are you going to do with a philosophy degree? And the honest answer is nothing. You don't do anything with philosophy or literature, but you make yourself and other people think differently. Art isn't designed to be practical, it isn't designed to fix a leak or pave a road, it doesn't do, it makes. Art is artificial. That's why these two words share the same root. We often use artificial to mean not real, not genuine, maybe because we expect it to do something. But a painting or a book doesn't do anything. It makes. James Joyce, the great Irish author, didn't see himself as a storyteller in the fluffy sense. He saw himself as nothing less than a technician of the soul. He once wrote, "I'm really one of the great engineers, if not the greatest in the world. All the engines I know are wrong. Simplicity. I'm making an engine with only one wheel." Why would a novelist call himself an engineer? Because words are mechanics of making. Words don't do anything. They make. They make us think, they make us laugh, they make us cry, they make us change ourselves. But by themselves, these black imprints on a white paper don't do anything. And I'm not saying we can just stop doing entirely. The dishes, unfortunately, still need to be washed, the bolts still need to be tightened. But there's a risk in confusing movement with meaning. It is very easy to spend a whole life just doing, checking boxes, responding to urgent demands, maintaining the machine. We often feel guilty when we aren't busy, when we are just standing there. But that stillness is where the architecture happens. That is where the engine is built. That is where the magic starts. Because ultimately, what makes us human, pun intended, is not what we did, it is what we made.